It's two conscious guys talking, where conscious male leaders come together and have a discussion that is deep, that is nourishing, that allows us to see the illumination of consciousness that's unfolding progressively for men that are waking up in the world, and where you can get insights on your own awakening as a man, and also for amazing women that want to learn more about men's challenges and struggles that have created some of the dysfunction we've seen within men in its society, often called, quote unquote, the patriarchy and other terms. What created it? What is the genesis of it all? What can we do about it today to empower men to be all that they're meant to be and to support the awakening of consciousness for men and women and all? All right. Well, good to be with you, Christopher, on this fine day. It looks like a very fine day out there where you are.
Good to be here with you, Daniel. Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, wow, it's just good to connect with you. I bet you're out there helping the guys. You're one of those people that I have on that actually is doing work with men. Most of our guests actually tend not to be those people. They're just conscious male leaders doing their thing. But you actually are helping men of sovereignty, the wolf pack. I think you've got a book, right? And you've got challenges you're doing, and you've got all this stuff going on to help guys. And so that my natural question is just like, hey, why is it that you're helping guys? Of all the things you could do, why would you do such a crazy thing to help guys?
I would say there's a natural tendency in those of us with big hearts to, when we go through something and we go deep and we feel deep and we struggle and we go to the depths and then climb out, you have a desire to turn around and help others do the same.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Totally. I know I had my own depths and whatnot. Part of my depths are not wanting to be a human, much less a guy. Like, just like, God, just let's, where's the spaceship? Take me out of here. Let's try
Right.
something else. Like they're all crazy down here. You were right. They're not ready for us yet. Like,
Right. I
so,
can concur and resonate with all of that.
yeah. So so yeah, I don't know your story whatsoever. I mean, what kind of challenges have you run into on the pathway of life and being a guy?
Short story, dad was alcoholic, incredibly abusive. Parents divorced. My dad went to prison, lived on an Indian reservation till I was about 10 with a single mom with 9 kids.
Wow.
And that was rough go. She remarried. That was a whole nother rough story.
Mm.
Uh, finished high school, just trying to navigate, wondering what the hell's going on in this life and trying to figure out where I fit in and who I am, and start a construction company fresh out of high school and grow that to be a large, successful business. And then go through a divorce and drink heavy and end up with the gun in my throat.
Mm.
And then I started doing deep dive work of, like, I better get to the bottom of this stuff. I wasn't willing to leave my kids behind in suicide, so I figured you better do something to start to address the deeper core wounds and traumas that had taken place. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, wow. So yeah, you've had a lot going on in this life, is what it sounds like to me. Wow, that's a lot. I mean, I always love that when people come on and all the different stories, whether it doesn't sound that dramatic or because it's all dramatic to the person experiencing it, right? Like for me, it's like they made me leave the house and I was playing with my yellow truck. How dare they? That's the worst thing that you've ever done to me. Like
Right.
all the way to more but dramatic stories like yours, right? So it's like whatever it is to that person and that's experienced that it's big inside of them, and so it's beautiful that the people that come on they have have had these big experiences to come on as well, though, because there's always someone out there thinking, yeah, I've heard people talk, but none of them have dealt with what I've dealt with, right? That's the most common, false beliefs.
Right.
It's, nobody else has deals with these things. Nobody's like me, and therefore, it always comes down to what other limiting belief than they have about it all. So, wow, with so many kids and with your dad and with what was going on with him, you just mentioned very quickly about all that, but um, what were your thoughts about 9 kids and everything? Were most of the kids boys, or was it a mix, or?
We had 4 boys, 5 girls.
Hmm. Okay. And so what kind of thoughts? So it's balanced. This was a feeling I was having. Maybe it's kind of balanced. But with your dad not being around, alcoholic, what kind of thoughts did you have about this idea of, like, they say everybody gets the idea of, like, you're supposed to be a man and be a man. What kind of ideas did you get about that growing up, as far as you can tell?
Some of the things so you're familiar with nice guy syndrome, I imagine.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice guy syndrome set in strong at those early years after watching mom be abused and my sisters be neglected and abused, and several of the older siblings moved away. There was a time we got split up and put in foster homes. And somewhere in all of that, I decided, well, mom's drinking and partying and working, and someone's got to, the older kids aren't stepping up. Dad's gone. Someone's got to take care of these younger kids, and all the younger kids were girls. And I didn't realize till probably 4 years ago, I was doing timeline regression therapy session, and one of the deep-seated several things happened during a few year period there that really anchored in. Essentially, you can't trust men, you can't trust women. Not The world's not safe, and I better take over. I better handle everything for myself, and I better handle everything for my younger siblings.
Mm, yeah. Handle it all myself and my siblings. Okay. Wow, yeah, weight of the world on you. Around what time in your childhood do you kind of believe that kind of really kicked in?
I think the first 5 years, 6 years, I mean, probably the first, I guess, all of my life, especially in the younger years. Now that I've done more and more work, life becomes more and more beautiful. But
Yeah.
um, certainly the first 5 to 7 years, 10 years was, this place is not safe and it's very hard to be here. Especially, I'm extremely intuitive. I'm a Cancer, so I'm a big feeler. I can feel what other people feel driving by down the road, right? So
Right.
um, these extreme spidey senses and this ultra sensitivity awareness has made it very difficult to be here, and didn't want to be here. I started wanting to die when I was about 7,
Mm.
and that's suicide ideation clear up until about 5 years ago. And but in the trying to remember your question now. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I mean, you're covering everything I asked and way
Okay.
more, which is great. So I just said, what age, did you feel like you had to really kind of take charge and control? Basically, it was the question, and
So I was close to 7 when in this timeline regression therapy. I was close to the age 7 when I really took on, like, no one's gonna step up for these younger kids. It's gonna have to be me. And that moved into, I later saw the patterns in that in my romantic relationships, where I would tend to attract someone who needed saved or fixed, and then try like hell to serve them to the ends of the earth to earn their love, and to no avail.
yeah, 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 that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the part of it, the parts that I connect with as far as like my own experience is ultra sensitive, to, whatever. We all have different levels of it, but whatever level. But yeah, the idea of being ultra sensitive for sure. Nice guy syndrome for sure. Uh, I could be a total jerk now, compared, which is a victory for me compared to what I could ever be when I was a kid, growing up, especially. Like, I think I started getting probably middle school. There was instances where I was kind of mean at times, but other than that, kind of all the time, nice guy, like always the nice guy. Uh, Pretty much that's what people would, if you go ask like 100 people that just casually know me in the world, they'll be like, "Oh, he's a nice guy," Like, to this day, they'll still just say that, right? He's a nice guy, friendly guy, good guy. Now, if you ask some of my clients, like they might, I might be the first thing they say. They'll probably say that I'm loving and caring and supportive, but I'll just say, man, he could be a son of a bitch sometimes. Like, hey, you could probably relate to that
I
too.
can relate with that.
But to me, it's been about finding that edge inside of me that I've always had. It just came out in different ways, I guess, when I was younger. I was into playing baseball and I wasn't good at hitting, but I got good at pitching just because I practiced a lot on my own. I was like, strike them all out and everything. We practicing on it and helped me get rather good. I mean, making all-star teams that I couldn't even hit the ball. I mean,
Wow.
I was doing good with the pitching. So specializing, I guess, became a thing for me. But like, yeah, different ways it would come out with competitiveness and whatnot. But mostly pretty like, geez, he's just kind of here, like he's just happy-go-lucky. Because I think I really was thinking I don't want to create any more burden. My sister was a little bit wild, at times. And I just was like, well, no, I mean, what's the big fuss all about anyway? Let's just chill out. And
Yeah.
but I didn't get very good grades or anything because I was so chilled out. I was just kind of maybe numbed out is maybe a way to put it. Like, I didn't care about school that much. It's like, whatever, So I didn't care about too many things other than having a good time, just doing some things I like to do. And people are kind of stupid to me, I suppose, mostly, right? Even though I had a love in my heart for them. And but yeah, the anger came in later because I'm like, all right, I'm getting tired of all this nonsense with myself and other people, right? So it's all a mirror, but it's like, all right, let's start doing something about it. And then
Yes.
these other aspects come out, and then when you're sensitive, you can know, exactly what people are needing to hear, whether it's a loving, kind, gentle message or they need to hear something tougher, right? Like these guys that you're helping, and I think that's critical for so many of us, including the guys that have been in you know that are sensitive, right? There's a lot of sensitive guys out there, and they're all told, "Don't cry, be tough, this and that," right? So tell me about like what you see with this whole dynamic. Do you find a lot of the guys that you work with are like kind of blown away at how sensitive they are, and they've been hiding it all their life? Like, I've seen a lot of that too.
So my book is called The Atma Male, and it says the alpha and then crosses out alpha and replaces the word alpha with Atma. And Atma means higher self. And so there's a certain demographic of guy
Hmm.
who is drawn to my work, and he's typically not the alpha. He's a
Hmm.
very competitive guy. He's an edgy guy. He's a strong guy. He loves doing hard things, but he's also sensitive. I've seen one definition recently. I started looking up videos on YouTube about the Sigma male, and it describes really well the type of guy. So there's kind of the guys that are ultra soft and sensitive don't get drawn to me because I'm a little too intense. But the guys that are super macho alpha type, they're not drawn to me either because I'm too sensitive.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
there's these other guys that are both, and they tend to be the people drawn to me. But even then, really what they find is that they've been lone wolfing their whole life, that they didn't realize that they would love to have an awesome tribe of other cool dudes to hang out with and be completely transparent and vulnerable and real in all the ways, sometimes angry, sometimes sad, sometimes scared, sometimes happy, where we talk about anything and everything. Nothing's out of bounds. And it's a safe, loving place, but it's also a place where you'll be called up if you're making excuses or playing small or operating out of guilt and shame or holding back. Like, we're going to call you up in a loving way. So a lot of times they're most surprised at how good it feels to be around other like aware men who are caring, who they're not either of the two extremes. They're not the ultra, what the alphas would call pussies or whatever, and they're also not the other. So because they never felt like they fit in, and
Right.
now they feel like they belong somewhere, and so that's probably the thing that surprises them the most.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes my mind does wonder, like, what am I? Should I be like this badass type? Because there are moments and times when I feel like, all right, like this is all a bunch of nonsense. I'll be in a group, like I'm just a bunch of nonsense. I'm just taking over. Like, all right, guys, we're doing this and that, whatever. Like, there's times I feel like I rarely do that. I don't usually take over like that, but I have the ability to. Because I'm able to, bring people together and communicate things correctly. I have an ability to do that and lead people. And so yeah, sometimes I feel that way, and I feel this energy of like you're supposed to take over now, and then there's also the side of me that just wants to blend in with the walls, just yeah, to leave me, just yeah, I'm not even gonna talk. I'm just like let me don't even notice me. I'm not even here. I hope you realize I'm not even here, right? Okay, just leave me alone. And even within recent years, I'm still go into those patterns at times. Like also I'm back in invisibility mode out socially. Like I just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna fade out today. So, and then I'll be like, no, I'm gonna be outgoing today, and like it's like these different modes I have. Do you notice a lot of these type of guys are like that?
I in a Yeah,
Similar?
I think what I've seen is like in as I've studied rites of passage and initiations for many years, I've come to understand about tribal culture a little more, and I think that's a natural phenomenon of in tribal culture they don't elect a leader, they don't appoint a leader. I mean, it's whatever's happening at the time. Whoever's best at that thing rises up, and the people there might be two that rise up. Maybe one's in big ego and one's the most qualified leader, and the people are going to follow who they know is most qualified, right?
Hmm.
Because there is no, you know, uh, what are they hierarchy of like, set thing. It's just who's most qualified.
Hmm.
And then when we've run some studies on men's group stuff where we'll say, okay, go do this thing, and we'll watch them. And the first guys that rise up are the macho, egotistical guys. I'm the leader. I'll lead this. And then they fuck it all up. And then eventually the real leaders end up in the leadership position once everyone sorts through and figures out who's most qualified. And so there's this innate thing that happens. And I think it's important to know how to know, like a guy like you're not trying to be the leader. Those are usually the most qualified ones. And when you feel that, like, hey, I know I should rise up, it's just a good time to do that.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I would say most of my life anyway, I've tended to be a reluctant leader for sure. And
Mm-hmm.
or not wanting to lead at all. And then there is a part of me that likes this limelight, though. Like, yeah, I want to be the star. Watch what I can do. There is an ego in there, but I would say mostly it's been subdued. It's not totally out of control. I suppose it has been at times, like any of us. But yeah, that totally makes sense. It makes me think about. I have a friend. It's been was a cop and he's retired now, but he's a neighbor just a few doors down, and
he says, yeah, the people that come on to the police force that say, go through the training and everything and say like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get out there, man. Whatever happens, I'm ready. I'll be ready to shoot people. I'll be ready to do whatever I need to do. He says those are always the people that are first to like disappear or freeze or whatever. Like, and then it's the guys that are quiet that aren't saying any of this stuff are the guys that are ready. So yeah, I've definitely heard that principle before. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I'm curious, and when you were talking about the niceness and the meanness, what has your journey with boundaries been like?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. Boundaries overall. Well, I don't know. It's like I tend to be probably more a listener, accommodating, but also I'm at the same time I do have boundaries, big time. Like I'll be like, all right, I gotta go. Like just forget to my own space or get to my own priorities. So I feel like I'm actually in some ways really good with boundaries when it comes to that. Um, I may, one of like, okay, I have to just go in present day because like when you say that, I'm like, well, what timeline, like, but like when I think of present day, I think about when it comes to something like where do we want to go to dinner or something like that. It's like usually I'm like, whatever, I'll enjoy it wherever we go. And you know what that came out of is a year or two or three or more early in my marriage, like we would fight over certain things. Like, no, I want to go literally for an hour or two. We would argue about where we're going to go to eat. And like, so now up to that, just got to the point eventually. I'm like, it ain't worth it. I'll enjoy wherever we go. Where do you want to go, dear? Like, so I just have learned like if I'm going to argue about something, it better really be worth it to me because I ain't gonna spend an hour or two arguing about like where we're going to go to dinner. Like, and I wouldn't say where that would happen necessarily today if I were to, have a strong different opinion on something. And so what I do is I just only when it hits me strong that I want to go somewhere, then I take a real stand for it. I'm like, all right, we're going here tonight. Like, and I say, I don't usually say, I don't usually speak up on these matters. So we're going there. And then everybody's fine with it. Nobody else in the family is like, well, they might complain a little bit, but like, okay, yeah, we'll go there tonight. So like things like that, you could question like, oh, maybe you should be more assertive, get more of what you want, and but like, yeah, but maybe maybe it doesn't matter that. So that's what I learned like in my marriage is it doesn't always matter that much what the temperature is going to be at in the house. Like, I want it 2 degrees cooler or whatever. Yeah, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll wear a sweater or something if it's too cold or it's too hot. I'll de-layer, right? I mean. I don't need to fight or get into a big conversation about every single thing. Kind of where I went to, whereas I think some people would think I'm too passive in those situations, but I just think it's wise because it just isn't. I just don't find it's worth it. And if something's really worth it to me, we go back and forth plenty already. So and we have a great relationship. But you gotta, as they say, pick the battles, I guess. But so I would say my boundaries are pretty good, but there are definitely areas where I question it. But it's hard to know sometimes because you love people so much, and you need to get in there and help. I have like a sister and a mom that really need help, and they can't always do everything, deal with every situation on their own. They need somebody. They don't have my sister has a lot of people, but my mom doesn't. So yeah, the boundaries things is always an interesting thing for those with the big hearts because yeah, so sometimes I vacillate between big heart and I don't care and distancing myself more too, right? Like, well, just yeah, no, I'm not even gonna call that person because like I'm just so burned out of caring, on everybody else. I'm not gonna call them, right? Like, so yeah, finding the proper dynamic with the boundaries is always an interesting dance, isn't it?
That's something I'm still challenged with. I've
Mhm.
taken courses and read books, and my tendency is like yours. Like I can adapt to a lot of things. Indoors, outdoors, cold, hot, this food, that food. sleeping on the whatever the thing is, like I'm adaptable and
Yeah.
I don't like to make a big deal out of things. But then what tends to happen is over time, my partner tends to be like always having to have her way and always kind of mainly thinking about her. I mainly think about others. She mainly thinks about herself.
Mm.
And so there's created quite the imbalance where it gets to the point that if I do set a boundary, that's something that is a true value of mine. That's not, it's never about dinner or any little things. It's
Mhm.
something big that's like a deal breaker. And then because I haven't had any boundaries all along, now it's an upset. Like, who the hell's this guy? Right.
Mm.
So I've been on a long journey with that one, still on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Where's my nice husband or whatever, whatever. I I think a lot of guys hear that, like, where did he go? It's like, oh, the minute I show a little fight and fire, yeah, sometimes that's what happens for some of us. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how different people are sensitive to different things. Like my daughter, who's off of college, amazing daughter. I've got three daughters, two of my own, one stepdaughter, and she's off at college. And with her, she's gotten so sensitive with me to where I'll just raise my voice slightly. I'll be like, "Hey, what's going on?" But whoa, major aggression, almost like like what's with the tone of voice? Oh my God. Uh, I don't know why she's gotten that sensitive with me sometimes. Like it's like, and she's not. I mean, everybody's manipulative, but like she's not like this manipulative person, Like so, it's not that. It's like it really hits her because I think she probably cares about what I feel and think a lot. She's sensitive to
Right.
it, right? And
Right.
I have had some blow ups with her, and she's probably like, "Oh my God, is he going to blow up or something?" And so I'm guessing is why she's that sensitive. I'm like, listen, I barely raised my voice. Like, she's not constantly like that, but often. And I'm like, wow. I mean, okay, So it's always trying to yeah, but it's interesting feedback. It's like, yeah, maybe in some cases she's kind of right. Like, well, why am I raising my voice? Get you more conscious, I guess is my point. Rather than like be like, that's your problem. I'll talk louder if I want, like,
Right.
but to be sensitive to the fact that this is triggering something inside of her and really be aware of that and talk about it if it makes sense, I guess. So, um, yeah, that's interesting. Yes, deal breakers. Wow. Everybody has their deal breakers. So are you married?
Yeah, we're separated currently,
Okay.
and I don't know where it's going.
Oh, okay. Okay, because of the things that have shown up. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough, right? When one person's like all about what serves the highest for everybody, and if your partner is more like, I was looking at what's gonna take care of me. I want to be taken care of finally, right? Like, because maybe she didn't get what her needs met in the past, right? Now I'm getting all mine, right? So
Yep.
I'm guessing because I tune into stuff, but
There's that as so she's been chronically ill for almost 13 years in excruciating
okay,
pain, gets
okay.
hardly any sleep, and we had just an amazing marriage that got better and better and better for the first 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's her well-being and her needs have gone tremendously up over the years. And unfortunately, I hit a breaking point recently.
Yeah, yeah. Well, see, that gets into the boundaries, right? You're like, I can go this far, but there's a place at which, because I have thought about that, with my own wife. Like, what if she became super disabled, or what if this happened, or what if that happened? Well, I don't know if most people think about that stuff, but I do at times. I'll go through my mind. I'll be like, man, she's not getting around physically as well as she used to. What if she becomes disabled even, and then I'd have to take care of her like that? And then what would that be like? And your mind's always worried about these things. And could there be a deal breaker or whatever, and all that kind of idea? And but I feel like, in my case anyway, at the moment, I just feel this transcendent connection we built in our heart space that no matter what's going on, it just, all that stuff at the end of the day doesn't matter. It's just like we're connected, right? And I'm sure you experienced a lot of that with your wife too, that you're separated from, but like, yeah, you just get that transcendent connection. And yeah, imagine like for any of us at some point, like things just aren't working and there's just doesn't seem to be anywhere else for the relationship to go though, right?
Yep. I love that you guys have that connection. I celebrate that for you. And yeah, sometimes, I mean, yeah, we'll see where it all lands, but it's where it needs to be for now.
Yeah. Well, lots of love to you and her too, all of you. And do you have kids, by the way?
We do. We've got
Hmm.
a 7-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, great. Girls, boys, or
13-year-old girl, 7-year-old boy.
okay. Okay, nice. Oh yeah. Yeah, I get a sense that, again, I get pictures of them or feelings around them right away. Like, it's interesting. Boy, it seems pretty like seems like got some good energy, some good energy for sure. Yeah. So
He was
nothing,
here.
no offense to your 13-year-old, but he pops out right away. Like,
They're both amazing, and he came in almost like an immaculate conception. He was conceived on her period. She had been deathly ill and was pretty much on her deathbed with Lyme disease. And complete surprise, we were very, very careful about those things. And we didn't know if her body would keep him. But not only did her body keep it, he ended up helping heal her of Lyme disease. We found that when you're pregnant, the baby will feed stem cells to the mom's body and
wow.
help repair it. And so she had considered, she'd worried that she couldn't keep the baby, and she got a reading, and the woman told her, hey, like, this is a very wise old soul, and he wants you to know he's here to help. And he just came in the most precious baby in a very particular way. Like, his nickname became Buddha at a very young age. He could be deathly ill and he would just be smiling still. You could see he's puffy and he's red and he's overheating and he's miserable and he's still smiling. And there's just nothing that could stop him from being zenned out. And then as he's gotten a little older, he also has a warrior spirit in there, and he's a funny guy. So he's just this great balance of strength and courage and laughter and fun and joy and,
Yeah.
and softness, and it just a wonderful, wonderful soul.
That's one of the first words I got was joy, when I tuned in there. So, um, yeah, that's very interesting. And your 13-year-old seems to have some like he had a sense of dynamic balance of energies, like kind of a dynamic balance of energies, like so different energy mixes.
Very wise and creative,
Mm,
dancing, singing, acting, very nurturing,
mm,
um,
mhm.
gentle, kind, more quiet, but also loves to perform. Right. So when she's performing, you wouldn't think she's quiet at all.
Right,
When
right,
she's just walking around the house, she's just, you know, just doing her thing.
right, right. Nice. Oh, that's fantastic. They sound phenomenal. Um, wow. So tell us more about like, so you were talking about Atma male and all that stuff. We talk about the wolf pack, we talk about sovereignty and all that. So for you, there's a lot of talk about sovereignty these days with the talk of the collective, and there's talk of patriarchy. It's been going on strong and all that stuff. Um, I always say, well, I don't know. I'm like, no, just it mostly is I get the patriarchy thing. Okay, I'm not dumb, but like, I'm like at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. Come to my house and see if you think there's a patriarchy. In a sense, you know what I mean? Like it's just it kind of makes me laugh sometimes, some of the concepts in certain regards, and yeah, I totally get it on another level, obviously. So but yeah, this with the sovereignty piece, that seems to be an important part of what you talk about. The men of sovereignty is what you call it here. Um, what's that all about? I'm curious.
It's similarly tied to the Atma male. It's essentially saying let's every day expand into the greatest version of ourselves over and over and over and over, so that we show up in the best ways possible in our business, in our relationship, in our parenting, and all the things. And sovereignty is kind of an antidote to codependency, right? And so the more whole I can become, the more balanced I can become, the more soft yet strong, right? Gentle yet firm, like, and finding that balance in all the things where we're not just pushing for one extreme. We're saying let's be leaders, but let's be emotionally intelligent. Let's be solid, but let's be empathetic listeners and great communicators. And so it's really about becoming whole enough that you're loving for the sake of loving, not for the sake, like you can show up in the relationship with an overflowing cup and give from that overflow. And if both people can do that, you have something beautiful. But if you're coming to take, or both parties are coming to take, or one takes and the other gives, none of those work. But if both parties really do their inner work to address their childhood wounds and traumas and samskaras and guilt and shame and unworthiness and insecurities and all the things, then we show up and we're happy, we're whole, we're peaceful. And we don't require something outside of us to do that for us. It's something we learn how to self-regulate and give to ourselves. And from that place, magic happens. And codependence, which is, you know, is at the root of many of the relationship issues out there, and all the unhappiness. Any version of us, any ones of us that needs something outside of us to be okay. Now there's certain things we need, you know, we do have needs and they do get to be met. And so even that, there's some wisdom to be had, because, you know, ultra independence is a trauma response too.
Yeah.
So it's not this 100% ultra independence. It's more like taking responsibility for finding the ways to source all of your needs. And that if both parties do that in a healthy way, then you have an opportunity for something beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, you know, if I'm not in my highest awareness and mind, I may not feel this way at times, but you know, generally speaking, like um, the idea is like, well, what's going on with me is 100% on me. You know, even if somebody else did me wrong, however, whatever's showing up inside of me is with me. You know, it's not about they need to correct it. So if something needs to be corrected inside of me first, you know,
Yeah.
like I. I might need to go to that person to talk to them, maybe, but honestly, I think like most of the time, you just correct whatever's showing up inside of you when someone does you wrong, like that's going to start to put everything into place kind of naturally to a large degree, is my experience with that. So like just a small example, I remember I was, you know, running one of my events and, you know, somebody came in, I think somebody came in late to a group or something. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I says, well, I could have been clearer about, you know, how you need to be on time. And, you know, that's really important at this event or whatever. So I take 100% responsibility on that one. You know, I could have made it clearer. And everybody's blown away by it. Wait a minute, she was late. It's not you. You didn't screw up. And I'm like, well, I could have done better, you know, so I'm going to put that one on me. But from now on, you guys be on time. Like, you know, like just first looking at yourself and seeing like,
Yes.
well, could I have done better? I just had a situation with a client. She's like, you didn't do enough for me or whatever, this coaching arrangement. And what was happening is like, I was reaching out to this person. She wasn't getting back to me. I'm like, So most people would say it was on her, right? It's just on you. It's only on you. And I did bring that up strongly, trust me. But I also said, all right, well, I had to give in a little bit, like, because I thought it was right. I says, okay, so you needed me to come after you more, so to speak. You needed me to nudge you more. Okay, let's work on that now, though. Let's get into it. And so just always look first at yourself, because it's always easy. It's the easiest thing to do. Just it's your problem. You're to blame here. All right. So to me, you're not sovereign if you're constantly blaming other people, right? I mean, like, how can you be sovereign?
Right. Yeah, everything you shared is beautiful. The first piece of, if it's in you, it's yours, right? As we walk that path, we become more sovereign every instance. And then the more radically responsible and accountable we are, the more sovereign we are as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people listening to these podcasts and stuff, again, I mean, I'm sure Christopher would agree. We're a hot mess, plenty of times. We are a work in progress. I'm not coming on here acting like I've worked through it all and I'm always 100% responsible, minded. Like this is mine all the time. Like, no, my mind wants to point out and blame like other people at times, but getting into the practice of realizing, now, wait a minute, I need to clean something up inside of me, first and foremost, and always looking at, because again, like you would say, right? I just know this, but like the relationships you've attracted, like, yeah, all these needy people, it's all their fault, right? Like, yeah, no, you drew them to you, right? So like, you got to clean it up inside yourself.
Not only did I draw them to me, I was attracted to them.
Yeah.
Then I played nice guy. I didn't take care of myself. I didn't have boundaries. There's, always 100%. So, yes, the situation coming from the other side was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But the only power I have is taking 100% for everything that I did to create it to be what it is.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you've got this, one of the other things I wanted to, there's so many things. You've got a fascinating background, so many different pieces here. But I wanted to talk about the wolf pack idea. So what's the wolf pack about?
So it's a men's group. We gather once a week on the Zoom call like this. And we do some breath work together. The beginning. So the first 5 minutes, we're just checking in. How you doing? What's up? And then we hop on, we do about 5 minutes, 10 minutes worth of breath. And that just helps bring us into coherence together as a group. And then we go through what we call the progress compass, which gives us like a dashboard for all the things that are most important to you, to get a glance of where are you at, where are you going, and what are the next steps over the coming week. And so that gets every single person dialed in. And then we do hot seats where we just all gather together and support each other, saying, okay, what are your primary focuses? What are the blockages? What are the things in the way? What's a challenge you want to overcome or a potential you're wanting to create or expand into? And then we all just give everything we've got to give, whether it's a resource or a connection or an idea or help facilitate some mental or emotional block that's keeping them from doing it. Just whatever can be done to optimize the person. We're not focusing on healing. A lot of healing takes place, but we're more focusing on creating. And my philosophy is whatever you focus on expands. So we focus on the life of their highest choosing, their ideal life vision, and always moving forward towards that. And then what I've come to experience over the last couple decades of coaching is their stuff surfaces in the process of going for what they want. And then if you just address it when it comes up as a roadblock, if you're driving the car, we don't need to look in the rearview mirror to drive. We look where we're going, and that thing will appear as a roadblock up here, and we'll navigate it when it comes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of people, I'm working with more men these days, with doing the podcast now and everything. And so I do more and more with men, but, I've worked with like 90, 95% women, historically in the past, especially. So, And in that dynamic, a lot of times, and guys say this too, but they'll say things like, well, I can't move forward with my next dream or desire because you know what I'm going to say, because I'm not good enough, or I got stuff to clean up first inside, then I'll do it after I clean it up. That's like, yeah, okay, you'll be doing that the rest of your life then, and you'll be dead. Just how, no, you don't need to do that. What you need to do is start taking those steps forward, and that'll get cleaned up on the way, as part of it. And in fact, a lot of times those blocks some of them start clearing up right away by just taking certain actions in your life. There is all this inner work to do, but a lot of times by taking certain actions, you start to move through it because the old beliefs have to go, because you start to witness like these beliefs aren't true by taking certain actions in your life. So I thought all women hated me. But then all of a sudden, like you find somebody by taking the right actions, all of a sudden you start seeing that that's not true. You didn't need to do a big inner game process only necessarily to attract that person. You need to just see that that's not true. And it goes both ways, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's not always about like I have to do the inner work first always and only the inner work. And it's like, no, you need to do all of it. You want to do the focusing forward and what you want, and not allowing the beliefs and stories of the past to get in the way, and to just deal with it. So I like that approach, I guess is what I'm saying. I like the idea of like not letting the blocks be like something we have to sit with forever first, then we'll go for the dream.
Yeah. Both at the same time. I love it.
Yeah, so that's cool. I like that. So now you've got all kinds of things. You've got this event coming up now. I don't know if this podcast may not be out by then, but you do these challenges, right? You've got all these things like I just feel like advertising you, I guess. But you got this, but it's all very instructive. So the Free Warrior 44 challenge, got one coming up this month. You probably have more of them maybe in the future. Tell us more about that, and you got the free event called The Shift, or what, I don't know, like it's all part of this Atma mastery, right? So I can't wait to learn more about it, because I definitely am an Atma male, so I'm definitely interested in checking out what you're doing.
Love that. Thank you. So Warrior 44 challenge is free, and it's 44 days, and it's a combination of 4 minutes of body work exercise with a video instruction, 4 minutes of breath work, 2 minutes, 20 minutes of meditation, and 2 minutes of journaling. And there's a very particular meditation technique we ask people to do. So me, after meditating for 2.5 decades, started having really profound experiences with meditation after taking a year-long ancient, like the most profound meditation course I've got my hands on in my life. And it changed so much for me that there was a combination of me studying the work of Michael Singer and Joe Dispenza and Yogananda, and Carl Jung and the Warrior Lover Magician King Rites of Passage. And all of that I was studying intensely over a couple of year period and practicing meditation 3 to 6 hours a day. And I was getting all these downloads and insights, and it was all piecing together in this kind of newest evolution of those bodies of work. And so I organized this challenge. So you do that routine I said, morning and evening, and it's just transforming lives left and right. And so I essentially decided to lead with my free challenge being literally the most valuable thing I can offer. It's the most, after 30 years in the personal development industry, nothing's come close to touching what I've been able to gain from that particular experience. In fact,
Wow.
it fortified everything else I've learned over all these years, because Carl Jung's probably the main quote I love from him is, "Until the unconscious is made conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate."
Yeah.
And so even with a vast toolbox that I've gained over all these years, once I'm in fight or flight, I don't have access to those tools. And so the only thing I've found that has reliably helped me get and stay out of fight or flight more and more frequently and for longer periods of time is this particular meditation style. And so we're changing a lot of lives with the Warrior 44 Challenge.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, we'll put links into the show notes and everything for that. Sounds really cool. Yeah, I like Michael Singer. I like, the people you mentioned, and they're very profound. So, with all you study, this is the best of the best, man. It's got to be pretty awesome. So, so yeah, so that definitely check that out, guys. And then you also, because you're so lackadaisical, you also decided to do a book too, right? So you got a new book out. So tell us about this now too.
Atma Mail is a culmination of that work. It's really helping people see how to go through. So the way these rites of passage that Carl Jung identified, the warrior, the lover, the magician, the king. In my book, I retitled them, I kept some of it the same, but the warrior, the lover, the alchemist, and the Atma. And I changed the king from king to Atma because the king, the way most of us associate with king is very similar to the way that we associate with what we think an alpha is.
Yeah.
But if you actually study wolves, alphas aren't what society thinks alphas are. The alpha is the father in a wolf family who loves and serves and protects. He's strong, he's dominant, but it's not over his loved ones. It's just for protection and provision.
Yeah.
It's not about being more macho than the guy next to him, other than if you want to come tread on him and his family, he'll handle it. But he's not looking for it.
Right.
So change king to Atma because most of the kings have been tyrants, right?
Right.
There's been a noble king here and there, but I just wanted it to be Atma because inside everybody is an Atma. The above, beyond the lower heart, lower mind, beyond the ego, deep down in every single soul, man, woman, or child, is a higher self. There's a soul that is a beautiful, powerful, loving being that is aligned and harmonious. So that's what the Atma is about, just cleans up that energy. And then the magician. A magician could be a performer performing tricks. An alchemist is an alchemist. And an alchemist turns lead to gold, or coal to diamonds, or lemons to lemonade, or what would be an argument or a fight or a war into love and peace and goodness, right? So the book, I'm showing people how to actually go through those rites of passage. It's one thing to say, hey, these rites of passage exist. What about helping people understand how valuable it is to go through them, and then helping them know how to? And so that's what my book is accomplishing, not just telling them that they exist, actually helping them go through them so that they can become their most powerful aligned version of themselves, because that's what it takes. It's when you look at what you want to create, the next step is, who do you got to be to create that and experience that? So that's what we're up to with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, definitely familiar with what you're talking about with these different, archetypes and whatnot. But also, like, I've heard people say, like, there's these different schools where they're like, well, it's like a progression. You started, but I forget even what it is. Like, you start as a pauper, and then you become one of these, and then you're a prince, and then you're a king, and then you're all these things. And then these same guys, there's just one person I talked to, but I know that where there's one, there's more. They're sitting there evaluating everybody based on what level they're at. So they're like, okay, he's a prince. This one's this. This one ain't a king yet. And it's like, to me, the king thing, I think you're right. It's too much. You didn't use this word, but like, I think it's got way ego in it, big ego in it. I'm the king now. Yeah. That's not going to be good. So not that kind of kingly way. So I like that choice you made not to go with that, because the beautiful kings that have been in the world, most people don't have a reference point for those. So, but yeah, I mean, a little bit of king energy, it might be good, but yeah, to go full king, I think with the association and the subconscious is no good. Um, so, okay, great. Well, yeah, we'll put, like I said, links into the show notes for people that want to connect more with you on all this stuff. Um, but yeah, what I don't get from you is like, we're gonna make a man out of you, and you're finally gonna be that king, and you're gonna be the because there's men's circles that are like that. Like, we're gonna get you to that high level, and you're gonna attain, and all this sort of thing. And for you, it sounds more like maybe it's sort of like an actualization process, but there's
Yeah,
no
it's more
like
of an
drive.
inward journey than an outward. All those guys are saying basically go to war with yourself, dominate and abuse yourself into submission, into this hardened guy who goes and gets his on all this surface level shit that is external. And
Yeah.
that's going to make you happy. But there's not a fucking external thing in this world that's ever going to make anyone happy. So I'm not saying don't go for the external things. I'm saying do the internal game while you're going for the external things. Then you can enjoy the best of both worlds.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, and this is kind of, yeah, some people like, yeah, that's because you've never really made it, man, all that stuff. But you said you had a large, successful business yourself, right? So it's like, it's not like you haven't experienced that. You know how empty that can be at a deeper level, once you get there. Like, yeah, there's satisfaction, but there's also an emptiness for most people if the
The
fuel getting
people that
them
actually, only the people who haven't made it say that, what you just said.
Hmm.
Every person who's made it, if they have the wherewithal to open their eyes, goes, what the fuck? I spent all these years building this kingdom. I've accomplished everything I set out to accomplish, and I don't feel very different. And
Yeah.
I still feel empty. And so now let me chase more and more and more and more. And then pretty soon they go, I've chased and tried everything in the world outside of me. Where else can I look? And that's when they start looking in. I've had clients that are worth $100 million that have achieved everything that all these guys think they're chasing just to discover that it wasn't what they were looking for. They got to
Right.
keep their money. They ended up actually having life be better in all the ways after working with me, with their relationships, their money. They stopped working with people that didn't have integrity, and they started doing only projects they loved to do that made a positive difference. Their money actually stayed wonderful. They didn't have to lose it.
Right.
It's just that it's none of it's fulfilling unless you're fulfilled already within you. And that's a relationship that must be cultivated within.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. So, yeah, because I definitely heard so many stories of success that where people get there and they're like, yeah, and then I was empty and I was suicidal or whatever. It's like, yeah, I mean, of course, and a lot of times you don't hear the stories, but there's some people that do share that part of the story. And so yeah, the people that say do whatever it takes. Like, I remember seeing a video where I forget the guy, this is years ago now, but he had these videos going online where these guys that go to these meetings, they all come up with their suits and their suitcases and go in, and we're here, we're gonna be men, and we're gonna get ours, and we're gonna do our thing. And I'm like, I only watch out of entertainment and try to understand like what that was about, because it was so extreme in a way. And I was like, man, I don't think any of these guys are really feeling their emotions or anything. Like, they're just like, it just was wild. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of them will say, oh, it's good. What I find with some of those type of things is people will say, yeah, it was really good. I made tons of money. But then after you keep the conversation going, you find out that they actually don't believe in it, at the end of the day. That's what I found. Have you found that? Like, people that go through these hard knocks kind of schools, that they even if they say they had success, they're like, yeah, but then I found out it's not really for me. Like,
Right.
basically, they may not even fully admit it, but basically that's
Right.
what they tell you.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yes. Yes.
yes. Okay. Well, great. Well, it's been a total delight to have you on the show today. And so, yeah, as we start to wrap up, Yeah, I'd love if you have any last words for everybody you'd like to share today, given you do this work a lot and you're very dedicated to it. In this case, I am going to ask if you have any last words for people today.
Thank you. It always blows me away how much power lies in taking just a few minutes to consciously breathe. And second to that, I would say, if one of the things I experience, everyone's talked about meditation long enough that everyone knows that it's a good thing and everyone knows they ought to do it. And most people either don't do it or they do it for, just check off a box because, everyone's doing it. Yeah, I got my 5-minute meditation. I got my 15-minute meditation. I got my 20-minute meditation. And there's something that magical that happens because in the warrior rite of passage, what you're doing is you're developing a level of self-discipline to direct your internal focus on where it goes instead of it wandering aimlessly. Until you accomplish this, you are not the captain of the ship of your life. You are at the whim of whatever winds blow your way, and you will be cast to and fro with whatever you're hit with. Through the Warrior Rite of Passage, Warrior 44 Challenge, we're developing the ability to turn the brain on and off like a light switch and to take over control of your mind. That you're the one directing where your attention goes. This is one of the most important things a person will ever discover in their life. But it's just the beginning point. After you get good at that, you'll start to fall into these states of absolute bliss and joy and love and peace and wholeness and sovereignty, where there's nothing to stress about, nothing to fear, nothing to control, nothing to resist, nothing to run towards. You're just being. And it's the most amazing experience in the world. And from that place, you begin to know your essence, your divinity, your soul. And you start operating as the real you, not as the personas, not as the character you've developed, not as your false identity, as the real you. And when this happens, life still happens. It doesn't just magically make life everything you want happen. Sometimes you'll get into these serendipitous flow states where it seems like everything's in your favor, but not always. There's no promise for that. The promise is that you're capable of transmuting and moving into that alchemy energy, that whatever comes at you, you will aikido it into something beautiful. You will alchemize it into something that is of service, even if it's hard. Like I'm going through a separation that might become a divorce. Mm-hmm. I absolutely know that I will alchemize this into making me the most powerful, pure, loving, upgraded version of me, no matter what the outcome is. And the 30 years of tools I've developed to get here are wonderful. But if I had to throw them all out but one, it would be going inside, because in the quantum field, connected with all that is, I have access to every answer, every inspiration, every guidance, every next step. And I have access to my true self, not the jealous one, not the fearful one, not the insecure one, not the one that has to get on this show and pretend that my marriage is awesome, because I don't need to pretend anything for anybody, because I used to, and there's no need to anymore. Because our higher self that I'm still embodying, just like you said earlier, I'm still a work in progress. I have not arrived. I'm on an endless journey, and there's ups and there's downs and there's highs and there's lows. But what used to take me out of the game for long periods of time, I now can be with, transmute, transform, and alchemize into just it serving, moving forward. It becomes the rocket fuel. And from there, we begin to walk as the Atma, where it's less about praying that life's easier or chasing to that end game that, once I get to Z, everything's going to be wonderful. It's really living in the present moment, centered in your body, right here, available for whatever is here, whether it's light or it's dark or it's high or it's low, that you can navigate it and you don't leave you. You don't abandon you. You don't betray you. You don't compromise you. You don't neglect you. You don't abuse you. And when you walk in that kind of power, you get a magnetism. And that magnetism creates magic.
Phenomenal. All right. I love it. What a send off. Yeah. So I would love to respond to that. However, I'm just going to say fantastic. That's awesome. Sometimes us guys just want to keep sharing, and then I want to share. We can leave it be at that, right? So good stuff. Awesome. So it's really great having you on the show today, Christopher. I super appreciate you and what you're doing, and I look forward to any of our future connections. Thank you so much.
Great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for listening in to Just Two Conscious Guys Talking, where our mission is to impact millions of men ultimately to deepen their awakening by examining their consciousness of what's been unfolding for them with male stereotypes and programming that has allowed them to have opportunities to evolve during these times. It's an exciting time to bring more love to men and women around the world, and we are grateful for you tuning in today. Feel free to share this episode and keep tuning in, and also look in the show notes for a link to get notifications of future episodes. Until the next time, everyone, goodbye for now.